Welcome back to EducateTube.com. My name is Subski, your host. Today I'll be talking about smartwatches. There are actually 4 types of smartwatches. 2 you might have heard of, and the last 2 you may not. We'll talk about the first 2 first, then I'll elaborate on the last 2, and then I'll show you the devices that I have that may help you decide which one you want. Type 1, of course, is the most popular. This one I show here is Pebble, and the other one is Samsung Gear 1. The good thing about these smartwatches is that they sync with your smartphone, and they require the smartphone actually for it to work. For example, especially Gear 1, the first thing is before you can even start, you need your Samsung smartphone for it to work. And it's not just any Samsung smartphone. You need I think S3, S4, and up. Okay, and also the Android version has to be, I think, minimum 4.1 for it to work. Not sure about Pebble, but Pebble is actually compatible with OS, Apple, okay, iOS, and as well as Android. They have the pros and cons for this 2 type of smartphone. Now, what I didn't mention is for other smartphones like Motorola 360, LG smartphones, and many others, they use now they're currently trying to use Tyson's or Android Wear as their operating system. Okay, and Pebble had their own. Now the good thing about these 2 type of phone, the Type 1, is that they're able to sync with your smartphone, and so you can answer calls and you can send instant messages as well. For example, the one I have, the Gear 1, I'll talk about that one because that's the one I have, is that it's able to, when there's a call from my smartphone, it will vibrate, if I set it to vibrate, to my smartwatch, and it will show the message, or it will show that somebody's calling me. And if it's a message, I just swipe it to the right, and I will get the message, and it will tell me what the message is about. And if I want to reply, I can use S voice to reply, voice recognition software. It will reply short messages as long as I have my Wi-Fi available in my smartphone, that is, unless of course you have data plan that allow you to connect to the internet. Okay, so that's that. So the key feature of Type 1 is that its ability to connect with a smartphone, answer calls, receive calls, look at your messages. And in addition, some of the smartphone like the Samsung Gear 1 has a watch built camera built in. Not so great, like only 2 megapixel, but still it's for those who enjoy taking short videos or photo. That would be a good feature to have. They have pedometers, so keep track of your fitness and all that. So that's a feature if you like. Type 1 would be the one to go. Okay. The only problem I have with Type 1 is that most of them need your smartphone for it to work. Right. We'll talk about the other 2 type in the bottom later on, but that's the problem I find in Type 1. However, I was able to bypass that for Samsung Gear 1 because when Samsung Gear 1 came out, it is actually, and a lot of people don't know about this, is under Android 4.2 OS. Okay, so even the interface, for example, look like it's independent from the Android 4.2, but it's actually, if you were able to mod it, you'll find that you can actually use both, and I'll show you that with my modded version of Samsung Gear 1. Okay, so Samsung Gear 1 is the only one you could do that which has Android 4.2. You can also upgrade to Tyson, but I really don't recommend it. I find that the 4.2 is much better interface, and you can switch back and forth between the native interface and Android 4.2. Now the problem with all these watches, which before I go on, is the battery life. I mean, like Pebble is a little bit better. It can last for about 7 days, whereas Samsung Gear 1, if you're not careful, it lasts you less than a day. But I was able to mod that and make it last for about 2 or 3 days. Okay, we'll talk about that later in my next video on how I do that. Okay, enough said with Type 1. Let's look at Type 2. Type 2, again, similar to Type 1, except they perform specific function. Okay, for example, you have Gear Fit here, Samsung Gear Fit, and then you have Fitbit. And notice Fitbit doesn't even have a screen on it. It's just really a Bluetooth with communicate with your smartphone, allow you to keep track of your, your movement, right? So, the more you walk, the more it'll keep track, and it tells you the calorie burn. I'm not so sure I would like to have that. The Samsung Gear Fit, for example, at least show a display, and it shows you the time. You know, you can look at your message. You can't really answer the message, but you can receive message and look at it, and then you grab your smartphone to call back. Okay. Again, Type 2 I'm not very impressed with. It's like, you know, it's kind of serve a specific function, but it doesn't have the full function that you want. For example, receiving call and then calling back, which is why like Type 1 is probably more popular. Okay, and it's, you know, in terms of price wise, you know, they're about half the price, and you probably want to go with Type 1 because it has more function to it. Now Type 2, there's another one that I didn't mention, which is, for example, TomTom GPS, a smartwatch, which not only allows you to, you know, keep track, you know, how many steps you walk and all that, but it actually tells you where to go. It has a built-in GPS in it. Again, you know, if you like that kind of feature, you might want to go for Type 3 and 4. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so Type 1, Type 2, very popular. They're highly available in the market, so if you want to choose those, that's fine. I want to talk about Type 3 and 4 though. Type 3, for example, is a real smartwatch in the sense that it is independent from your smartphone. It is actually a Android operating system watches. In this one, for example, this has Android 4.4 KitKat in it, right? It has a built-in camera, it's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and GPS as well. So amazing device, right? Of course, some people argue, why would you want that when you have a smartphone? True, okay? So again, this is not particularly for those who, you know, so focus on just their smartphone and you know, require just that. Okay, this is for people who actually want to have everything on their wrist, having be able to answer call through their smartwatches, being able to maybe check quickly the internet using Google Now. For example, you can use Google Now with this one. It has built-in Wi-Fi, and of course, you want to check your GPS location and all that. You go with Type 3. Okay, so Type 3 is quite and it has a built-in camera as well. So Type 3, I would say, you know, if you're not so focused on smartphone, and that you have, yes, and by the way, it has a built-in SIM slot, so you can put in a SIM card in there, so you can use it as an independent phone, so you can call directly from it. And there's some software which is still in beta version where you can actually sync with your smartphone as well, just like similar to Type 1. But right now, I think it's still early stage, and they need to perfect that for Type 3. If they did do that, I would say Type 3 would be the one I recommend for sure over Type 1. Alright, so Type 3, independent smartwatch with Android 4.0 and up, like this one's 4.4 KitKat, built-in Bluetooth, built-in GPS, built-in Wi-Fi. Amazing device. Okay, now again, if you decide you know, smartphone is not your main device, and this may be the one you want to get. The price for this one for the one I'm showing here is around $150. Okay, and the last one, the fourth type, of course, is a watch actually with the phone feature, exclusively phone. And you can see there's actually a dial number there. So for example, you don't care so much about smartphone, and you just want a watch with the phone in it, right? This would be the one I would recommend. It has a dial phone number, very easy to feel and touch, and you know, pretty much a phone wrap around your wrist. Okay, and another cool feature is that it has Bluetooth, so you can listen to music. There's a memory slot, you can put up to 32 gig in there, and you can listen to your music through Bluetooth, or if you want, you can connect to USB and connect it to your headset there as well, but I wouldn't recommend that because it's you know, wired, whereas Bluetooth is wireless. You can listen to music on a go. Okay, so this one is pretty cool. It comes with a SIM slot, so you can plug in your SIM card, and there we go. You have a real phone and a music system. So a phone and a music system, Type 4. If you're just, that's all you care about, music and phone, you don't care about apps like, you know, games and all those stuff, this is the way to go. It doesn't have a GPS like this one here. Okay, So let me summarize that again. Type 1, you need to have your smartphone. Most of them require a smartphone. Whether, for example, Pebble requires neither Android smartphone or Apple smartphone. Okay. Type 2 serve a very specific function, usually fitness related function, and so it allows you to receive messages, but you can't call, right? Fitbit, for example, you can't even see anything except that it tracks your your movement, and then it syncs to your smartphone, so you can have a look at what calorie you burn and how many steps you walked, and so on. Type 3, generally the smartest phone of all because it's independent from the smartphone. It is a smartwatch that has all the features that a smartphone has, except of course the screen is really tiny. It's an Android. This one is Android 4.4 with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and GPS. Okay, so I have it, and I'll show you in a minute that it's you can't really do gaming on it, and the spec is not as great as a smartphone. For example, this is a dual-core one, 512 megabytes of memory, internal memory, right, and maybe a storage of built-in 8 gig of information or data. And the last one, of course, is your real smartphone and a smart watch with a phone on it, right? So just a phone and music. You can put in the memory card in there, and you can listen to music through Bluetooth. Okay, and that's about it. Let me show you now the device. Okay, so let's look at Type 1. This is Samsung Gear 1. As you can see, the watch is in here in the box. I just want to show you right now. In terms of its style and look, it's pretty good. I mean, the Type 1 has a very good feel to it. It looks like a real watch, and looks pretty futuristic. I would say one of the best, if not the best, looking watch based on different companies like Samsung and LG and Motorola and so on. Okay, so they're quite nice looking. Like for example, Samsung Gear 1 comes with a sapphire glass here, right, and quite relatively thin, right, and this one has built-in camera. Okay, now you need your smartphone to be able to sync with your smartwatches, and it actually, for Samsung Gear 1, for example, all the Gear devices from Samsung requires that you have your smartphone. And the one thing I like about this is that if you want to turn on, you just make a flick on your wrist and it will turn on. Okay, again, the problem that these smartwatches suffer from is the battery power. Okay, this Samsung Gear 1, for example, will last maybe a day with the screen turning off every, let's say, like here, 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, and then you flick it again, and oops, see, there we go, it turns on again. Okay, if you do that, it will last a day. However, I'll show you on my other videos that if you mod it to the native interface is actually Android 4.2, then if you can turn off that automated on when you flick your wrist, and by just pressing the button instead, you'll keep the battery last even longer, maybe 2-3 days. Okay, I'll show you later on how to do that. But that's Type 1. You need the smartphone with this, and you sync with your smartwatches, and it has a weather notification. S-Voice allow you to send messages through your voice, short messages anyway, but you need to make sure that your smartphone has Wi-Fi or data plan through the to use the internet. Okay, all right, let's put that away. I'll show you another video on actually the Samsung Gear 1 and how to operate it and how to mod it. Okay, we'll talk about that later because this is just about the type of smartwatches. Okay, the second type, of course, I don't really have a second type, but just to illustrate the second type, it will look something like this, right? It has a built-in maybe Bluetooth and some kind of microchip in there that communicates with your smartphone. Okay, now usually the one thing I like about these Type 2 smartwatch, I wouldn't even call it smartwatch, I'll call it smart device, especially when there's no watch in it, right? Ability to, for example, keep track of your fitness. In other words, if you walk and you run, it will keep track of how many calories you burn using a accelerometer or some kind of sensor that it has built in. Okay, so sometimes it get fancy, it has maybe lights in there, to make it look nice. So anyway, mainly geared towards fitness people, right? I wouldn't recommend that if you're not into fitness, and it's serves very specific function, and it's pretty expensive if you think about it. It's almost as half the price of a Type 1 smartphone, which I say Type 1 is much more useful. Okay, but again, the good news is that these battery powered devices actually last very long. If it doesn't have a screen on it, it could last for months. All right. Okay, that's Type 2. I'm not going to talk too much about that. Let's go through Type 3. There we go. This is a ZGPAX S8 smartphone. This one, for example. Okay, let me, if I can turn it on here. It'll take a while. Okay, if you look at it, it has a built-in SIM slot. You can put a SIM card in there. It has a camera, a 2-megapixel camera, and connect directly to the USB so you can charge it. Okay, it has the button up and down, and then of course another button here. Okay, and it looks nice too. If you compare that to the Samsung S1, let's have a look. Compare the two. Okay, let's have a look at the difference between the two here. Okay, here's the Samsung S1. Okay, Gear 1, I mean, sorry. Okay, and compare that to the ZGPAX S8 smartphone, and you can see they look relatively good. I mean, the Samsung Gear 1 is more thinner, whereas the ZGPAX S8 is a little bit thicker by maybe about a couple mil. But the size wise, you can see one is more rectangular like the Samsung Gear 1, whereas the ZGPAX S8 is more squared, right? Which one would I recommend? Again, like I said, if you don't have a smartphone, you don't care so much about smartphone, then go with this smartwatch. It's much cheaper. If you have a smartphone and a smartwatch, you can run between $500 to $600 at least, right? Whereas this one is only $150. You got the smartphone feature in there and a smartwatch where you can call directly. For example, okay, let's turn it on, and you swipe it, and there we go. This is actually an Android 4.4. It's pretty cool. You can use Google Now there because it runs as a Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS. Right, the GPS is not that great. You have to make sure you have a clear outdoor with no obstacle, then it works pretty well. Okay, you even have a Play Store in here, so it's really an Android 4.4. And I look here. I even have Translate, Navigator for GPS, right, in there. Okay, so all these cool feature in this independent smart watch. Okay, so if you don't have a smartphone or you don't care so much about smartphone, this is the way to go. It has a built-in camera and a SIM card you can put in there. Okay, so let's say if I want to make a call, click on call, and there we go. Okay, a dial. It has a dial pad, and just call that number, and you can do that. Okay, so that's the Type 3. Not bad. Again, battery power lasts maybe a day or two. On standby, maybe a couple of days. Okay. But not bad. I like it. If I don't have a smartphone, I would go with this one. This one, you don't have to worry about anything else other than calling and receiving messages. And yeah, a cool gadget. I would say, Inspector Gadgets type of people might want this one. And of course, lastly, this watch here. This is the 4th type. This one's called Avatar. Smartphone or smartwatch. In fact, we don't call it smartphone or smartwatch. It's just watch mobile, right? It's actually a phone on a watch. So you have this smartphone, the 4th type, where it has a dial pad in it. That's pretty cool. It is actually a phone, right? and it has a Bluetooth, so you can actually listen to music as well. Look, it has here you can put in a memory card, up 32 gig of memory, and you can put in your SIM card. You have to open it from the back. There we go. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. Okay, SIM card you put in the back, and you can hook up a USB connector. Oops, this thing actually came out. Oops. And then connect to get it charged, right? Now the good thing about this device is that, again, if you don't care so much about smartphone and you just all you care about is being able to call, this is it. This is the phone you want. Okay, basic calling, your phone, and looking at your messages, text message. Okay, and this is the phone to go. Okay, if you're one of the old school where text messages, texting is not your cup of tea, and you just want to make audio, regular call and receive phone, this is it. Okay, you can wear on your wrist and it works. The battery life is not bad too. Standby will last maybe 3-4 days. When you call, let's say you make a call, you will last you at least I would say a day or two. Okay, because the battery that comes with it is pretty powerful. I think it's a 700 or 800 milliamp hour battery. Okay, but the problem with this, of course, is very bulky, right? I mean, it's okay. I wouldn't say it's that bulky. It was not for a guy. It may look alright. For a female with very thin wrist, it looks kind of funny. Okay, even guys actually with a small wrist, for example, thin bony wrist, it will look kind of bulky, right? But if you have a big wrist, more bulging kind of wrist, then yeah, that's okay. This is pretty good. Okay, here's a built-in speaker, by the way. Alright, so this is a fourth type. I would recommend it for those who just all they care about is calling, right? Calling, people, and don't care so much about text messaging, don't care about apps and all that. This would be it. And most likely I would see this among the older generation, who all they care about is calling and not so much about texting and using different apps. Okay, so there we go. We have all four type of smartwatches that you have to decide now what to pick. For me, I actually have 3 out of 4, and I was just experimenting with them. And to be honest with you, I like Type 1 the best, especially the mod version of Samsung Gear 1. So Samsung Gear 1 is the one I picked, and it allowed me to mod it to Android 4.2, and I could do a lot of things with it. For example, was able to put in Google Now, right? Google Now with that here, okay, with it. Okay, I'll show you later how to do that. So this would be my recommendation for smartwatches. Go with Samsung Gear 1, not the new one, but the old Gear 1, and mod it so that it becomes Android 4.2, and play around with it. You'll find that the feature that it has pretty much is what you will need. Okay. The second recommendation, of course, is you can go with this one here. This is the Type 3, which has a built-in Android operating system 4.4, and it has all the features that you need, like GPS, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and all that, and a built-in SIM slot where you can put your SIM card. Okay, now this, and a camera too. This one would be recommended for those who don't have a pretty good smartphone and they just want to be able to use call and have a GPS tracking, or using Google Now for web searching. This is pretty good too. Okay, so again, number 1, Type 1, number 2, Type 3 smartwatches, and lastly this one here, the Type 3, to be for those who just all they care about is the smartphone, calling, smartwatch, sorry, calling, and this would be the one you want. Okay, if you just want to just call, this is it. The Type 2, the one that is like BitFit and or Gear Fit, those one I don't really care so much about. I mean, unless you're the one who do a lot of exercise and fitness stuff, and you want battery to last very long, and you want to keep track of your your body, how much you endure and all that, yeah, go with Fitbit and Gear Fit. But I don't think it's for a lot of people. It's very particular niche for a certain group of people, and I would say you know, maybe for those market it will work out, but you know, for a general population, I would say these two. Okay, these two, Samsung Gear One and ZGPAX S8 is the one I used. Okay, so those two. There's another one too, the InWatch Z, that I don't have. Is a bit expensive. It's almost like $300-400. So wouldn't want to get that. It's too much money. I'd rather get a smartphone with a smartwatch. All right, thanks for watching. EducateTube.com.